everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany. This is the Brittany React Show, and on this show we talk all things entertainment news and movie news. No strike today. Today is pretty much all entertainment news and then some WTF news at the very end. So make sure you stick around to the very end of the live stream if you want to hear more WTF news. One of them is really crazy and one of them is more like fun crazy, but they're both still fun. How are you guys doing though? Hi Ajamin, hi Jojo Rod, hi Natanya, hi Travis, hi Therese, hi Robert, hi Laura, hi Josh Loves Movies, hi Robert Bell, hi Folklore Corner, hi Kiku, hi Mario, hi Prince, hi Connor, hi John, hi Yellow Umbrella, and thank you to each and every one of you who comes here every day. I genuinely appreciate it. So, I'm glad you guys like the WTF news. I try to always have at least like one story for WTF news, but there's not always WTF news, but today I found something. Alright, so, hi Whimsin. Let's get straight to the next story, or the first story really. Like I said, we have mainly just entertainment news to cover today. So, first thing I wanted to go over was Barbie. So, Barbie is releasing on 4K and Blu-ray October 17th. So now we have Greta Gerwig, the director, doing an interview going around basically saying like all these extra details about Barbie that we didn't know about, so I thought we'd go over some of them because I thought they were kind of interesting. Like this one right here, apparently Greta Gerwig had to fight to keep the I'm Just Kin dance sequence in Barbie. Apparently studio execs thought it wasn't needed, that like there was some discussion about cutting the scene, and she had to fight for it. There was a big meeting that was like, do you need this? And I was like, everything in me needs this. I think that's really crazy that the studio execs wanted to cut this scene because, like, a lot of people say this dance sequence is one of their favorite, like, scenes in the movie. It's one of my favorites, and I like the song. So I'm glad that she had to fight for it, but I think it's crazy that they wanted to cut it in the first place. But yeah, this is just, like, the first bit of, like, behind-the-scenes tea we found out today. I'll get to some other stuff in a second, but what do you guys think about this? Do you think that scene should have been cut? Do you think it's crazy like I do? I know Barbie era is dead. I know a lot of people are still excited to see it on Blu-ray. It's just, you know, the hype for the movie being in theaters is kind of done. G says, I always watch the streams later, but today I can watch it live. Well, I'm glad you can. Oh, Indy Sunflower says, honestly, I'd wish they had cut it. It was super weird. Well, I mean, everyone has their own opinion. I loved it. Natanya liked it too. Robert says, unpopular opinion, I didn't care for Barbie, didn't like it at all. Okay, well, I mean, there are some people who don't like it. Especially men. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of men don't like it for a lot of obvious reasons. But I just think if Barbie works for you, it really works for you. And it really worked for me. Seems like most of you like this scene. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't cut it either. And then next, she said that during Barbie's opening weekend, Greta would actually like sneak into theaters and she would sit in the back. And not only would she sit in the back just to gauge people's like the audience reactions to stuff, but she would also turn up the volume. Like she would go to the staff that actually worked at the theater, and she would tell people to turn up the volume if the volume wasn't at the perfect level for her. So I just think this is really funny, like Greta Gerwig going around to different theaters, sitting in the back in disguise, like judging everyone's reactions, but also like making sure that the sound is appropriate. I just think that's really funny to me that she even did this. Like she cared that much. She was like, this movie's not played at the right volume. You need to turn it up a little bit. I don't blame her though. I don't blame her. I just think that's kind of funny. Burning Daylighter says Barbie was not what I expected, but I'll rewatch it. Okay, maybe I'll like it more on the rewatch. I get not everyone loved it. Little Joe's Animation is dressing up as Ken for Halloween. Oh, I bet there's gonna be a ton of Barbie and Kens walking around. I'm really excited to see what costumes I see around the city this year. I bet it's gonna be just like tons and tons of Barbie costumes. Indy Sunflower says, the part where the Ken is screaming while Ryan and Simu are rubbing their pecs together was a choice. You know what? The movie is very campy and very out there. I just think that if you're not into camp, if you can't get with the campiness, it's obviously not going to be for you. Why are you guys calling her a Karen? I don't think this makes her a Karen. or naughty. Whimsin said, she's so me if I get my own movie. Exactly. If I directed my own film and it got this much hype, I'd be in those theaters doing the same thing, honestly. And then she said that she's actually working on her next project right now. It's hard and I'm having reoccurring nightmares. Now, she's supposed to be like working on Narnia. Like that was announced, I think, before Barbie even came out, that she's supposed to be working on some Narnia adaptation for Netflix. Like they're rebooting Narnia, because of course they're rebooting everything. I'm just hoping that this isn't that project and she's doing something different, because I don't want her to just like do some Netflix project. Like Barbie was so huge. I want her to be like one of the big directors who gets to keep making big movies for the theaters. I don't want her to just be like another Netflix creator, you know? Feels like a bit of a downgrade, so I hope she's not doing that Narnia thing. Do you guys want her to do the Narnia reboot, or do you want her to do something else? And if so, what kind of projects do you want Greta Gerwig to do? I think she can do a lot better than the Narnia thing. Honestly, I kind of want to see what Greta does with, like, her own IP. I want to see what she does with something original. Are you going to pre-order your tissues? Oh, I'm sorry. It is a very emotional movie. Oh, Yellow Umbrella says, my brother met Simu Liu. That's fun. Little Joe's Animation says, I wish she wouldn't touch Narnia. She is amazing, but she's going to screw up Narnia. Why do you think she would screw up Narnia? I think Greta Gerwig is a great director. I think she would do a really good job with Narnia. I just think that it's kind of... you know what? If the Narnia reboot was, like, by a major studio and it was actually going to go to theaters, I would feel a lot better. But if it's just going to be a Netflix thing, I just feel like this is a bit beneath her now. Laura B says she shouldn't work on something that is giving her nightmares. I think she's just saying that because she's probably stressed. Aubrey Small says, I want to see what Greta does with Narnia, like characters like Susan and Aslan. I mean, like I said, I think she could do a good version of it. I think that she's a good director and she can make anything work. I just think she should do something better. Josh Loves Movie says, I want her to do Narnia, as there's so many books the original movies didn't cover. Plus, for a more faithful version. Okay, so you want a more faithful adaptation. You want a different version than what we got. I can see that. I mean, who knows? I just hope that maybe if she does still do the Narnia thing, that Netflix at least gives it a theatrical release. You know what? I don't think they're going to, because they seem very anti-theaters for whatever reason, but I just feel like, why go from Barbie to Netflix, you know? But anyway, any other comments on what kind of movies you want to see Greta Gerwig make before we move on to the next topic? Alex says, I'd be more worried about executive involvement with Narnia. Yeah, I mean, I feel like as long as Netflix actually does give their creators a lot of, like, creative freedom, I feel like I'd be a lot more worried about a Narnia reboot if it was something Disney was doing, because Disney would definitely make it, you know, they would try to Disneyfy it. So, honestly, I would rather someone like Netflix make this than someone like Disney. Hybrid Venom says... Sorry, where'd it go? It went on Netflix. That doesn't matter if it's, like, a good movie or not. Exactly. I feel like if the movie goes on to Netflix, it just becomes a non-event. It's just another piece of content on Netflix. So, that's my opinion on this. So let's just move on to the next topic. So, Martin Scorsese. He's still not letting go of his soapbox about how superhero movies and franchise films are just ruining cinema, and the future of Hollywood and cinema as an art form is doomed unless we all do something drastic and change everything. That's pretty much what he's been saying. I'm going to give you a bit of a brief rundown of all that he's been talking about, but this is what he's been saying recently. So Martin Scorsese says that the only films major studios are making are Hollywood franchises. Some of them may be very good. I'm just saying that's not the only film to make. And as I say, some of these are so well made, it's amazing. I like how he's trying to play, like, both sides. He's like, yes, I know some of these franchise films can be good, but Can we make something else here? I get his argument here, at least in this one statement. He's saying, like, all Hollywood wants to make is franchise films, sequels, and reboots. Okay, we make something else, and I definitely agree with him here. I'm going to get into more of his controversial statements as we go along, but I just think that this one statement here isn't that controversial, or at least it shouldn't be, because it is pretty much a fact that if you just look at, like, all the movies that are coming out this year, most of it is something that's part of a franchise. It's because those are seen as the safe bets, or at least they were until a lot of franchise movies flopped this year. So that's why we're getting them. Most of the time when we do get something original, like The Creator, I told you guys about The Creator, right? The sci-fi film, we talked about it, I reviewed it. I really, really like the movie, but the movie is basically flopping in theaters right now. An original sci-fi film. That's why studios don't greenlight a lot of original sci-fi films, because whenever they do make them, a lot of them don't do well, unfortunately. So I get what he's saying here. I really do. Aubrey says he looks like the Lorax. What? Huh? You know what? I kind of see it. Yeah, you're right. He kind of does. Kai says we need some new. Yeah, we do need something new. I want a renaissance of new IP. We need, like, you know how we're basically just rebooting and redoing a lot of stuff that came out in the 80s? We need a new era of the 80s where we just get, like, a bunch of new properties and new ideas. We need a new renaissance, like a new era of the 80s, like we had, at least. I would love that. Kisaki says, I agree with Martin. Not a lot of original movies are being promoted. Franchises can be good, but they can get tiring after a while. They need to promote original movies more. That's true. There's also something else he said in the interview. He said that another issue is that the studios kind of have this perception that the only kind of people that want to see more adult original fare is, like, one kind of person, and anything that's not franchise related is being seen as indie now. And, like, they're being relegated to just smaller and smaller theaters, and that's something else he has a problem with, which I think, again, he's very, very right about. Even though I like Marvel and I like superhero films, I can't deny the effect that they've had on the industry as a whole. It's kind of undeniable. Prince says, I mean, he is a boomer. But I can understand he comes from a time where streaming was not there and where movies were a big thing without internet promoting for memes and such. You know, I do think that we are just generally witnessing a decline in, like, cinema's relevancy. I'm not saying cinema's ever going to go away. It's definitely not. Just like how when cinema was first invented, theater and, like, live stage plays didn't go away, but they did diminish in relevancy. So now most people just see, like, a theatrical show on, like, a special occasion, or maybe when they go see something on Broadway, but it's not something they go see all the time like they used to before, you know, cinema kind of took over and other technologies. I think cinema's just going to go through another transformation. And it's already going through that transformation, where it's, you know, it's no longer going to be and some can already argue that it's, you know, it's already the case that cinema is not the most, like, dominant art form for entertainment anymore. It was for the 20th century, but for the 21st century, I think we are moving away from it. I think gaming is becoming more and more dominant. I mean, it really already is more dominant, technically, if you look at the numbers. But culturally, I think just the overall relevancy of movies is declining. The Free Rocket Man says, streaming is killing cinema, and that's not okay. It's not a boomer take. You're right, it's not a boomer take. I agree with that, Free Rocket Man. Streaming is the cause of so many of Hollywood's issues, but yeah, I think, especially going back to the whole Netflix situation that we were talking about, Netflix makes a lot of content. Like, so many movies and shows, it's ridiculous. But so many of them are really bad because they're making so much content. And that's why I'm nervous about Greta Gerwig making something for Netflix, because I'm like, so many of their movies are crap. I mean, they just are. So, like, can you not? I just want her to do something better. I don't want her to be associated with, like, a Netflix original movie, you know? And I think because so many people are getting just accustomed to the subpar quality that streaming services are putting out, it is just setting a very low expectations for all of cinema, all of, like, you know, art in this format. I really think it's just kind of lowering the value of all of it. Um, Polk Raj says, what the industry needs is a joy. And let people make what they want to make. Polk Raj, I love this comment. They just need to chill out and let people make what they want to make. You're very, very right. You guys are so funny. You guys say the wildest stuff in my chat sometimes. I love it. Moving on to his next comment, because he has a lot of comments, like I said. Martin says that the combination of Barbie and Oppenheimer was something special. It does offer some hope for a different cinema to emerge, different from what's happening in the last 20 years. Yeah, I mean, I like that he's so positive and optimistic about Barbenheimer. He's basically like, I mean, the fact that the Barbenheimer was such an organic thing, it wasn't something the studios created, it was just something that was created by the people. And I think what he's saying here is just that it's nice that the general public got this excited over two movies that weren't already like a part of a pre-established film franchise. Yes, Barbie is technically an IP, but it's not like this is the first original movie of this kind of Barbie film. And of course, Oppenheimer is an original film. So it's nice that Barbenheimer was able to take over when it's two movies that traditionally, at least like the past 5 years or so, these kind of movies have not been getting this kind of attention from the public. So I think what he's saying here is just that, you know, it's nice that these kind of movies got so much attention when from the past like 20 years or so, that has not really been the case. What do you guys think about Barbenheimer? Why do you think Barbenheimer became such a moment? Because it really did. It drove both. I think it really helped both films. I think it helps Oppenheimer more, but I think it really did help both films. Why do you think Barbenheimer was so big and allowed both movies to make either almost or over $1 billion? Little Joe's Animation says, me trying to explain to my mom why Barbenheimer is so important and revolutionary. It really is important and revolutionary. It's going to go down in film history, like, for sure. I don't think there's even, like, a comparison for it. I don't think anything like it has ever happened before. Polkraj says, Barbenheimer generated unprecedented discourse. We were just so bored. Ooh, Everything Everywhere All at Once versus Tar was the precursor for that. I feel like that discourse was just between, like, film stands online, but the Barbenheimer discourse definitely generated, like, even beyond that, like, the general public was talking about Barbenheimer, not just, like, film stands, so that's how big Barbenheimer became. It was pretty, like, looking back on it, it's kind of crazy. Like, there were people making, like, whole memes and, like videos trying to, like, splice the two together. I mean, the amount of time people were putting on all of these, like, the stuff that they were making was just crazy to me. I saw someone make an AI Barbenheimer movie. Like, I don't understand it, but I think it's really cool that it happened. Namor7 says, Barbenheimer generated excitement because it was an indicator of originality audiences have been deprived of. Yeah, I think that's why Martin Scorsese is so happy about this, that it's saying that, like, oh, audiences are interested in something original. Because, again, this whole Barbenheimer thing came straight from audiences. Studios did not create it. It was just something that happened organically. I think they will teach about Barbenheimer in film schools. I really do. Angel Barrera says, this sort of thing happening in video games, like with Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal. I didn't know this happens with video games. Well, that's fun. I really need to, like I said, I'm slowly getting more and more into the video games, like, space. I've been playing a lot of these video games, but there's, like, so much, like, lore and, like, video games I still have to, like, learn about. And one of the things I'm going to learn about soon, though, I'm really going to play the first Spider-Man game, because I know the second Spider-Man game is coming out soon, so I'm going to play the Spider-Man game so I can catch up on that. So that's my next game I'm going to play. But anyway, moving on to the next Martin comment, because he has a lot. Again, just wanting to sort of refresh where all of this is coming from. All of these statements stem back from 2019, when he compared Marvel movies to theme parks, and that Marvel movies aren't cinema. This is where, like, this entire discourse started. And it got a lot of people upset. And then he's not done, because he just made these statements 2 weeks ago. He said that filmmakers in Hollywood need to fight back against comic book movie culture by supporting directors like Christopher Nolan. We've got to save cinema. Now, I think this is very ironic, because Christopher Nolan is well known for having directed quite possibly the most popular, or one of the most popular superhero trilogies of all time, with the Batman series, but I get what he's saying. I don't think Christopher Nolan is interested in making superhero movies anymore, but he's not letting off this soapbox is what I'm saying. He started this conversation way back in 2019, and it's 2023 and he's not done. He really, really fears the future of cinema. He thinks, as he put it, the danger is what it's doing to our culture. Martin Scorsese said of comic book movies, because there are going to be generations now that think movies are only those. That's what movies are. And I think he's right. Think about it. Marvel has been making movies since 2008. There are a lot of, like, really young teenagers who were, like, you know, practically toddlers when the MCU started that are now, you know, about to enter college or maybe already are in college. Basically what I'm saying is there's an entire generation of young people who they have spent their entire lives where the main, like, source of entertainment for Hollywood was just putting out franchises and superhero movies and Marvel movies, and that for their whole life is all they've really known. They don't know how Hollywood used to have a much diverse slate of movies before superhero movies essentially took over and changed everything. They don't know that. This is all they know. And this is what he's talking about here when he's saying that there's going to be generations now that think that these kind of movies are all that there is. And I think he's right. Because whenever you even try to critique a Marvel movie online, you get nothing but Marvel fans that are like, no, Marvel movies can be cinema. And I love a lot of Marvel movies. I'm not saying that they're bad. There's some that I really, really like. But they're definitely different from, like, an Oppenheimer. Or even a Barbie. I would say, like, even Barbie is a few steps up from, like, you know, a Marvel movie. They're not bad, but they're definitely popcorn films. And that's fine. But I don't want, and what Martin doesn't want, is for an entire generation to think that those kind of popcorn films are all there really is. And I think that there is a danger of that. What do you guys think about all this? Ann Stiles says, soon they will make Google the movie. Google the movie. Maybe. I mean, they kind of did. Wasn't there a movie a while ago called The Internship that had Dylan O'Brien in it? He interned at Google, I believe. It was sort of a Google movie. Or it was a Google-like company or something like that. Hybrid Venom says, YouTube movie, I guess, that already is with this, the Emoji Movie. Yeah, the Emoji Movie was, I mean, just an example of what I mean when I say, like, mostly what Hollywood is making right now is just a bunch of franchise stuff filled to the brim with IP that does not, a lot of times, even need to be adapted. Namor7 says, superhero films are capable of conveying an emotional and visceral experience, like Logan. That's true. I mean, trust me, I am a huge fan of comic book movies. I am not hating them at all. But there is a difference between, say, like, even I'll use a really good one. Like, Guardians, just because it's a recent one, that's why I'm using it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think that movie is really, really good. It is a very good movie. Not just a good comic book movie, but it's a good movie. It stands on its own as a film. It's good. At the same time, that should not be the standard for all blockbusters or all filmmaking. Because it is still, even though Guardians 3 is a really good movie, it is still one kind of movie. And what Hollywood has done is made all blockbusters kind of like Marvel films, either by injecting that same Marvel humor, or the same kind of action, or even the same look. Like, I've even seen a lot of blockbusters kind of have the same Marvel-y look now. And I think that is a problem. Trust me, I'm not hating on comic book movies. I love comic book movies. But we should also, as fans, realize that they are still a certain kind of movie. Sam Bryan says he is trying to distinguish between art and entertainment. Entertainment is made for an audience, art is made for the artist. He's trying to save the art. I agree. And there can be a lot of artistry in comic book movies, not saying that there isn't. But at the same time, you can't deny that the main reason Marvel is making these movies is just to make money. It is not for the art. If it happens to be artistic, that's just a bonus to them. But that is not their goal. They're not aiming to make art. They're aiming to make money. And yes, technically all films aim to make money, but some do try to at least be, art too. I know this is sort of controversial because I know I might have pissed off a lot of Marvel fans. Please tell me if I'm wrong. I want to have a discussion about this. Edward says, Tumblr the movie? Why are you guys pitching these awful movies? Who wants a Tumblr the movie? Snapchat the movie? Oh no. Oh, Poke Garage wants a Reddit and Blumhouse production. Oh, that actually could be funny. You know what? Let's do a Blumhouse and 4chan production. Let's just get like a bunch of 4chan users and like a haunted house and film it. I feel like that could be really funny. I'd watch it. John Joe, all films are art. That is true. But here's my... Okay. It is true all films are art. But I do think that some art has more value than others. And let me explain. Not recently, this was now like, oh my god, this was now like 2 years ago, I can't believe it. But I went to the museum, the Met. I went to the Met, right? Here in New York, and the Met is a gorgeous, huge, giant museum. Love it. Gorgeous. I mean, it shows you art from basically the history of since humans were doing art all the way up to like basically the present. And I got to see how the Egyptians made art, how like the ancient Greeks made art, like just art throughout the time, right? And then when I got to modern art, oh boy. There's an entire wing just for modern art in the Met, right? And modern art, y'all, what is happening? I took pictures because I was just shocked at some of these things that were passing for art. And I know I'm being harsh, but I'm about to be harsh because one of the things that I saw was literally just like a pile of hangers hanging together. And that was art, okay? I went through an entire like museum full of like really meticulously crafted, like handcrafted, like stuff that took a really long time, a lot of effort, like just centuries of human art that just like was really, really good, and it seemed like we really cared about like taking the time to like actually make something really good that's gonna stand the test of time. And then I got to modern art, and it was like, what is this? Where did the effort go? I'm not saying all modern art is bad, but I'm just saying I spent almost the whole day in that museum, and it was just a marked difference. I'm sorry. This is just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but I also know a lot of people agree with me. So when I say, yes, technically all film is art, and all has value on some degree, and yes, it's going to hit people differently, I do think we should be able to say, like, some things are better than others, especially if you put more effort and care into it. And that's what Martin Scorsese is saying. I think there is a difference. Okay, Poke Garage is going to defend the hangers installation. please defend the hangar's installation, because I had so many questions. And that was just one example, by the way. That was just the first thing I could think of, but there was a lot of stuff in there that was just like, what even is this? Ray Roos says creativity is not as celebrated anymore, in my opinion. I agree. I feel like it has never been a worse, well, not, I'm not going to say never been, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I do think we live in a time now where, like, being an artist is just, you're so disrespected. Like, the art of creativity is so disrespected. And I fully agree with that. Oh, Little Joe's Animations. That's a great way to put it. Anything can be art, but not everything is art. That's a great way to put it. I like that. Natanya, why do you want Omegle the movie? Why? I don't know. I'm not for that one. You know, they kind of made a Omegle sort of movie. Have you guys seen the movie Missing? Or there was also a similar movie that came out like a few years ago. That was kind of like in that concept where you just watched people like do a bunch of like face calls. It was a horror film. It was actually pretty good. It's sort of like an Omegle movie. Angel Barrera, thank you so much for the super chat. The Social Network 2, Into the Metaverse. You know what? There should be a Social Network 2. There's been so much drama over Facebook and just Mark Zuckerberg's life. I feel like there's enough material for a sequel at this point. We should definitely have one. Thank you for the super chat. Another super chat from Angel Barrera. Marcel Duchamp in 1917 famously put a name on a urinal to make a statement, and it was considered an artistic masterpiece. Yeah, I mean, people still do that today. Did you guys see, this was like maybe 2 weeks ago, but there was a viral video of a guy who wore a trash bag, and I think he joined New York Fashion Week, and he actually got on the runway, and people were just like watching this guy wearing a trash bag walking down the runway, like, oh yes, so smart, so interesting. And then the security had to get him, and no one realized that that wasn't actually supposed to be a fashion piece or a fashion statement. People thought it was part of the show, and I think that just speaks to like where we are with like modern creativity today, that like someone wore that trash bag on the runway to make a point, and no one got the point except for the security guards. Like, did you guys see that video? It was, I mean, it just perfectly sums up everything I'm saying about like modern art right now. Again, not all of it is bad. Not all of it is bad, but I think there is something going on with the creativity in art right now. Little Joe's Animation says, OMG, you did see that, yeah. Oh, there was another woman who walked down naked and she was painted and no one noticed? Exactly! Exactly! This is what I'm talking about. The fact that no one even notices these weird things because they're like, everything's weird, so I guess it's just part of the show. Robert Bell says, did you see Banksy might have to reveal his face? Oh, no, I didn't. I'm very curious to see. I wonder if it's gonna have like a dream reaction when he revealed his face. But anyway, if you haven't seen the video, you should check it out. It's very, very funny. But anyway, kind of got off subject for a little bit. Getting back to Martin Scorsese, he did want to defend his new movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, being 3 hours. He said, you can sit in front of the TV and watch something for 5 hours. There are many people who watch theater for 3.5 hours. You give it that respect. Give cinema some respect. I think he has another great point here. I mean, if you go to a Broadway show, including intermission, you're probably going to spend up to 3 hours, maybe even more. If you're playing video games, I mean, a lot of people play video games for more than 3 hours, especially if you're really into something. Or some people literally just sit there and like scroll on social media for that long. So I think there's a lot of discourse around like why so many movies are 3 hours or why movies are getting longer. But honestly, I don't even think it's that big of a deal. Because if you actually look at all the top highest grossing movies, most of them are like at least 2.5 hours or longer. people will watch a long movie if they feel like it's worth their time. So all this discourse around like, oh, movies should be shorter, I don't really see like the issue with it. If you don't want to see a 3-hour movie, you don't have to see it. But I don't think that means we should like make a conservative, like an actual effort to shorten movies, because it doesn't seem like really most people care. It's, again, if you actually look at the box office, most people are perfectly fine with 3-hour films. I mean, the Avatar movies are 3 hours. Oh, you guys didn't know who Banksy was. Yes, he's a famous artist who's known for being very controversial because a lot of people don't really care for his art or their art. But yeah. Joshua Munn says, yeah, but intermissions are breaks where you can go and stretch your legs. No one is sitting there for 3.5 straight hours. You know what? I actually support putting in intermissions. I think we should go back to doing that. Really. Imagine, especially since so many movies now are coming out at the 3-hour length or close to it, we should go back to doing intermissions. They used to do that back in the day. Whenever, I've only seen this movie a couple times, but Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind has an intermission in the movie, and I really love the intermission. Like, the music is beautiful, the score is just so gorgeous. I could totally imagine bringing back intermissions now, and it also provide more people time to, like, go buy more concessions, so it could help theaters. It could create the, like, more of an event atmosphere, since you have an intermission like you would at a Broadway show. I think an intermission would actually be a good idea to bring back. Evo Connor says, this guy's used to watching films in private theaters, not in public. That's true. Martin Scorsese, he probably does watch movies in private theaters. In fact, he said in this very interview, he hasn't even seen Barbie or Oppenheimer yet, so I think that's kind of funny. I wonder if he just waits to see everything until he can watch it in his own private theater. Like, does he even go to public theaters anymore? Angel Barrera says, the movies aren't getting longer because they want to tell a story. They just don't know how to edit. Oh, hot take, Angel Barrera. Okay. Maybe. So you think a lot of these longer movies don't need to be this long? They just don't know how to edit things? I mean, maybe. Maybe. We'll see what the reactions are to this film. I did hear a rumor that this movie actually didn't test well. That they had to do a lot of changing to try to get this movie to be better. So I'm kind of curious to see what like the audience and critic reaction to this film is going to be, because it might not be as positive as people are expecting, but who knows. I'm going to see it, so I'll let you guys know what I think of the movie when I do see it. But yeah. Yeah, editing is a lost art. I know I keep bringing up this movie a lot, but there was just a lot I really didn't like about it. But the Haunted Mansion movie, one of the things I didn't like about the Haunted Mansion movie was the editing. Like, the editing ruined so many jokes in that film because they just ruined the pacing. It was like the editor for that movie does not understand comedic timing. They ruined, like, almost every joke by either cutting too quickly or, like, leaving too many pauses between words. The editing in that movie was a mess. Never seen No Way Home? What? Oh, man. Anyway, wanted to bring this up because he defends the long movie, and I think he's right. I don't see an issue with these long movies, but I do think if we're gonna keep making these films long and making them longer, at least give us an intermission. Like, bring back the intermission is what I'm saying. Alright. So, I'm bringing this up because there's a new sort of tell-all book about Marvel coming out, and I think I might actually read it because I'm interested. But it's supposed to be a sort of tell-all expose about the rise and reign of Marvel, and also kind of fall, because it's supposed to take place between, from the very first movie, so from Iron Man all the way up through Quantumania, and the firing of one of their executives, Victoria Alonso. So it's going to be an interesting book, sort of seeing like what actually happened behind the scenes throughout Marvel's rise and, I guess now, sort of fall. Apparently there's lots of interviews with actors, producers, directors, so we're gonna get what really happened behind the scenes in the first three, well, really all the phases, like up through Quantumania. So at least the first four phases we're going to get to know a lot more about what happened behind the scenes, which I think could be very, very fascinating. And I think once this book does come out, we're probably going to hear a lot of like bombshell news about like, oh wow, this happened or this happened that like fans never knew about, because that seems like that's the kind of book this is. So I'm very curious about it. I'm very curious to see like what secrets we learn about Marvel from this book. Anyone interested in it? Anyone interested in like reading it themselves or like checking it out? Or at least hearing what I have to say if I do read it. Did Marvel approve of this book? I don't think so. Because again, they're gonna go and talk about like some of the bad stuff too. Like I did read the blurb. Apparently they're gonna talk about the disappointment of Quantumania and like the executives getting fired over it. So I think they're gonna be honest, or at least I hope they are. Anyone? Okay. No, most of you are not interested. Although a few of you are. Although Shelley is saying hell no. Alright, Shelley is not interested. Okay, but Rachel is interested in my review. Alright. I'll let you know what I think if I do read it. I'm definitely gonna like look up any bombshell news that comes out about it. Like I'll definitely tell you guys if anything interesting comes out of it. But I'm very curious about this book. Very, very curious. Oh, Alex is buying it. Alright. Laura B says I wouldn't read it, but I'm interested on your take on it. Okay. Kisaki says I doubt they'll be honest. I'm really hoping they'll be honest, but you're right, they'll probably hide a lot of the dirtier stuff they don't want us to know. That's what I'm hoping we get, like some really like shocking stuff, like Kevin Feige was, gonna fire Robert Downey Jr. or something like that. But anyway, just gonna see what happens with this book. So speaking of Marvel, Fantastic Four, they're gonna, announce their cast soon as the strike is over, and they're promising that this film is going to be unlike anything you've ever seen before. And apparently they're going to film the movie in Panavision. So, from everything that I'm hearing about rumors from this movie, it is going to be a period piece, or at least part of it. Like, they're going to set this film in the 60s, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to make it look like a film that was made in the 60s. From everything that I've been reading about this film, it sounds like they're trying to make this movie look and feel as different from other Marvel movies as possible. So that's why I think they're saying that it's going to be, like, unlike anything you've seen before, and, like, the whole Panavision thing. I think they're going to try to make this movie look and feel old. Like, it's not... I have a feeling Fantastic Four is not going to look and feel like a regular Marvel movie. Especially since they know people are getting tired of their formula. I think they're going to go for a very unique, interesting swing for Fantastic Four. That's my prediction anyway. Robert Bell says, "Hey Brittany, are you watching Gen V? Should I watch it? The only thing I've heard about Gen V is that it's like even more raunchy than The Boys and like even more like squeamish. And I love The Boys. I think The Boys is one of my favorite shows on right now. I think Homelander is like a fantastic, interesting character. But I don't know if I want to watch I don't know if I really want to watch a show that has all of that stuff if there's no Homelander. Like, I feel like Homelander is why I watch The Boys, If he's not there, then I'm not as interested. But I might check it out. We'll see. Yeah, Laura B says like they did with WandaVision's first episode. And speaking of WandaVision, Matt Shakman was actually one of the directors and writers on WandaVision. That's why he got this job. So I think that makes sense that he would be shooting this movie like a 60s film, since that he kind of already did that with WandaVision. So maybe that's kind of what their plan is. They're kind of giving it that WandaVision treatment by making it look and feel different. I think it could be very interesting. Yeah, maybe third time will be the charm, because we all know what happened with the first Fantastic Four movies. Although I actually, maybe it's just because I was a little kid when this movie came out, but I have a soft spot for the original Fantastic Four movie. I know people say it's not good. People say, that movie's really terrible. But as someone who doesn't read the comics, and I don't know anything about, like, the comic side of the Fantastic Four, I really liked the first old school, like, live-action Fantastic Four movie with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans. Like, I liked that movie. You know what movie I didn't like? Fan4stick. Fan4stick was pretty bad. The reboot that came out in 2015, now that one was pretty horrible. Robert Bell, thank you so much for the super chat. What's your dream Fantastic forecast? Huh. Interesting. I don't know. I saw a lot of people say Dev Patel for Reed Richards. I like Dev Patel. I wish he got more work, so maybe him. People were saying Adam Driver, but I don't know. I like Adam Driver as Kylo. But as long as... I feel like I only like Adam Driver when he is allowed to play a jerk. When he's playing a good guy, I'm just like, eh. But when he's playing a jerk, I'm like, okay, yes, please tell me more. So I guess he'll be okay. Margot Robbie was supposed to play Sue, and I like Margot Robbie, so I would have been happy with that. I think Austin Butler should play Johnny Storm. He'd be a good Johnny Storm. And you know who I would cast as the Thing? I would do Brendan Fraser. I'm surprised they didn't get Brendan Fraser for the Thing. I feel like he is perfect casting for that. I feel like that's missed opportunity. Poke Roush says, I mean the 2000s version had Chris Evans, who's literally everyone's awakening. True. I mean, I really like the Chris Evans, Fantastic Four movie. Again, maybe I'm just having nostalgia goggles on, but I always thought that movie got like a bad shake. Okay, Evil Connor likes it too. Good. Yeah, Austin Butler would be a really good Johnny Storm. Joshua Munn says, because aren't the 2005 and 2015 Fantastic Four supposed to be in Deadpool 3? Oh, I didn't know both casts were going to be in Deadpool 3. And 2005 Doctor Doom. I'm more excited by that than 2025 Fantastic Four. I'm so curious to see what happens with Fantastic Four. I'm so curious to see if this movie is actually a hit. I have no idea. I think it could be hit or miss, really. It just depends on if the movie itself is good. Okay, Brendan thinks, Laura thinks that Brendan Fraser is too old. I don't think he's too old for the role. I think he could do it. Who was saying Pedro Pascal for Johnny Storm? Oh, way too old for the role. I mean, I really like Pedro Pascal, but he is not for Johnny Storm. Okay. Hybrid Venom's gonna check it out, though. Oh, why am I mad, lad? I think that would be perfect casting. But anyway, that's my dream casting for Fantastic Four. There you go. Anyway, moving on. So, Pixar's CCO, Pete Docter, says that there are lots of changes coming to Pixar. And I think that this is actually a very sad story, but I kind of saw this coming. So he said, what are the kinds of films we want to be making? I really think I want to double down on what allowed us to speak to audiences to begin with. So why is he making this statement? Well, as we've been talking about, yes, Elemental did have a comeback. So Elemental debuted for a record worst for Pixar with just under 30 million, but it ended up with over 400 million worldwide because a lot of people who did see the movie ended up liking it, and it helped the movie gain box office over time. But when it first opened, a lot of people thought the movie was a flop, and it was going to be a flop. It only became a hit once people actually saw the movie and actually liked it. Sorry. And this is not the only, problem that Pixar has had lately. In fact, they've had a lot of disappointments recently in the last few years. Now, unfortunately, I think Disney putting a lot of Pixar movies on Disney Plus is one of the main reasons they've been having a lot of issues, but still, Lightyear flopped. Turning Red, they pulled it really early, so it didn't do that well either. Just a lot of these Pixar films have not been reaching the cultural zeitgeist that they used to, and they're not getting the near universal praise that they used to either. So, something that Pete Docter has been hinting about and has been talking about a lot in a lot of these interviews is he basically is saying that we're just going to be doing a lot of sequels because, it's very, very shaky ground right now for original animated films. They're just going to be doing a lot of sequels. So we're probably going to get an Incredibles 3, Maybe we'll get a Finding, Norman. Maybe we're already getting a Toy Story freaking 5, which is not necessary. Just, all the sequels. Because apparently those are they're much more financially safe. Even though I don't think that's totally true, because I honestly think the Toy Story 5 movie is going to underperform, but in their eyes, doing more sequels means that they have a financial safety net, and that's why they're going to do it. So I think this is very sad. I think that Pixar thrives when making originals more than sequels, but I get why they're doing it. I just think that this sucks. I think their original movies are really good. Evo Connor says they're announcing their death. I know! It is kind of sad. Here's what I'm hoping. So, Vox did a really good video where they talk about how Into the Spider-Verse basically changed the whole game for the animation industry, and how it's getting a lot of studios to want to finally experiment with their animation style. I think Pixar really, really needs to do away with the Pixar look. I think they pioneered it, they made it popular. Pixar will always be known for really creating 3D animation, because they did. Popularizing 3D animated movies, because Pixar is, they were the pioneer of all of that. But I think now they're no longer pioneering, and now it's looking like other animation studios are doing more of the pioneering and, trying to do something new, like Sony. And I think that Pixar is starting to fall behind, because they're still clinging to the Pixar look, that same style they've been doing now for decades. And I think I think people are getting tired of it. I really do. I think people are finally ready to start seeing more, different kinds of art styles than the same old, same old. So I think that's the first thing that they need to change. What do you guys think? King says, when are we getting a Bug's Life 2? Man, if we get a Bug's Life 2, I really like A Bug's Life. I think that's one of Pixar's, one of their most underrated films. I really do. But I don't think it needs a sequel. I don't think that movie needs a sequel. Yellow Umbrella says financial safety. I bet if Luca and Soul released in non-COVID times, they would have done well. That's true. I think Soul is a very good movie. Soul is actually, in my opinion, at the same quality as some of Pixar's earlier films. I think Soul is a really good movie. I get it came out in 2020, so they had to put it on Disney Plus, so I get that. But I think, as you said, if there was no COVID, if there was no pandemic, I think that movie could have done really well in theaters. It's just, COVID really messed them up. It messed a lot of people up, but boy did it mess up Pixar. Oh, the only sequel you want is Brave. Maybe we'll get a Brave. I don't know. Who wants Brave 2? Cal, maybe we'll get a Ratatouille 2. I could totally see them making a sequel to Ratatouille, just because Ratatouille has seen a sort of resurgence lately in popularity. I can totally see them making a sequel to that. Yeah, that's something I could definitely see happening. Who would want a Ratatouille sequel? I kind of maybe would be interested. Hybrid Venom says Pixar's hanging on to the past. Yeah, I agree. Tom Cruise voicing a Toy Story character would be interesting. It would be interesting. They got Keanu Reeves for the last Toy Story movie. That was fun. I wouldn't mind Tom Cruise in the next one. Josh wants a Luca too. They'll probably do that. Well, we're gonna get sequels to almost everything. The only thing I think you can't do a sequel to is WALL-E. Maybe they'll do a WALL-E series, but I can't see them doing a sequel to WALL-E. I feel like that one's pretty much done and over. Although, speaking of WALL-E, I don't know how many of you guys have been keeping up to date at all with any of this new AI image generation stuff, but there's a new AI image generator called Dolly, and I feel like it's a slap in the face to Pixar, because they clearly named their Dolly generator after WALL-E. But the Dolly generator is literally it can create it's part of the Bing image creator. If you've been seeing any of these new AI images of celebrities and stuff, it's coming from Dolly. And I'm like, literally all these artists, and I'm sure everyone at Pixar hates AI because they feel like AI has taken and stolen their stuff and it's going to take their jobs. And then the very image creator that's like the most advanced one we have right now is literally named Dolly based off of Wall-E. Like, if I was working in Pixar, I'd be so pissed. I'd be like, really? You had to name the thing that's gonna take my job Dolly? After Wall-E? I bet they're very upset. I would be. I just think that's very ironic. Crystal says they could do a Wall-E prequel. Maybe they'll do a prequel showing how like the world got to that state, but I feel like that wouldn't be the same because you wouldn't really need Wall-E. Cheetah Viper says Ratatouille could be a series which teaches about different countries' cuisine. I don't want it to be an educational thing. I want it to be like an actual like fun show. Indie Sunflower says the newer originals are so mediocre. So to me, it's even sad. It's not even sad news. We aren't losing anything. Oh man, I'm sorry, Indie Sunflower, that you feel that way. I still think Pixar has some good stuff in them. Like I said, I thought Soul was really good, and that was recent. So I think they still have it in them. I just think they need, I don't know. They need more time. You're never gonna bat 100. I just wish that they don't. I just think it's a bad idea to just focus on sequels from here on out. I think that's gonna like officially kill them, but we'll see. But anyway, going to my member question. Oh, we are going very long today. I did ask you guys, what do you think about the current state of Pixar? How do you think they should change in the future? So I am going to read these comments here. Thank you so much for being a member, every single one of you. Very much appreciated. So, starting with Alexander Padilla. Thank you so much. Hey Brittany, I feel like Pixar needs a whole restructure because the last few movies have been trash. They should be making more movies like Wall-E, Up, and Inside Out. As always, keep up the great work, Brittany. Thank you so much, Alexander. Yeah, I do feel like these movies here are like the creme de la creme, or some of them. I would also add like Finding Nemo and, The Incredibles, but like I said, I don't think that Pixar is totally done and out yet. I think that they're in a bit of a creative rut. That's how I would describe it. Just a creative rut, that's all. Little Joe's Animation says, I'm not sure it's as easy as just fixing a specific thing. All I know is that since John Lasseter left, Disney and Pixar haven't been the same. A lot of the ideas and concepts for their recent movies, Turning Red, Elemental, Soul, and Luca, have been good, but the actual execution boils down to really tired themes and character tropes, which, to be fair, is a problem with Hollywood in general. That is a great point. Oh my gosh, this point right here is probably my main issue with recent Pixar movies. It's like they come up with really good ideas, like concepts for the movies, but when they actually try to execute them, a lot of the times they just rely on like the same storylines and themes they do in a lot of their movies, which is why I didn't really care for Elemental. Like Elemental, the concept is creative, but then I felt like they just doubled down on a lot of the same storylines and tropes we'd seen in other Disney movies. That's totally what I think is the issue, in my opinion. The best thing they can do is make sure that they have a nice variety of writers and directors, but preferably, who don't project their family lives onto their writing. Yeah, we need to stop that as well, although they do say write from what you know, to be fair, but I've seen a lot of interviews lately, like, for example, from Elemental, where the director literally said, like, Elemental is essentially based off of his life. And that's not a bad thing, but I do feel like that can't keep happening. Like, all these Pixar movies can't essentially be autobiographical about the creator, because a lot of Pixar movies have been recently. That's a good point. And that's why I also think there's been so many generational trauma storylines, is because maybe a lot of the artists who work at Pixar have those issues. But I think it's becoming too much and very repetitive. And to not be afraid to experiment with different kinds of character dynamics and themes, yes. Pixar used to be great at having emotional drama or social commentary without getting too dark or touching the culture war. Yeah, it seems like they don't really know how to do this last part anymore. like, they still have good emotional drama and social commentary, but I do think that they don't know how to do it without... I think... For example, this is Disney and... Wait, hold on. Okay. Which one was Strange World? Was that Pixar or Disney Animation? The two studios are really blending together for me. Which one was Strange World? Was that Pixar? I think that was a Pixar movie, right? Anyway, I'm bringing up Strange World because that movie just felt like a checklist. Like, it wasn't even really a story. It was just a checklist of things we wanted to do to make ourselves look very progressive. And that's why I think that movie ultimately wasn't that entertaining, because it felt like their focus was more about checking boxes than actually telling an entertaining story. And I think that Pixar and Disney in general used to be a lot better at, addressing social issues and, like, doing commentary without it just feeling so over the head, which is how Pixar does a lot of that lately, and it just rubs people the wrong way, even if you agree with it. Angel Barrera, thank you so much for the super chat. History runs in cycles, doesn't it? How is this different than when they made a bunch of terrible straight-to-video sequels in the early 2000s? That's a good point. I mean, it's probably not that different, except now instead of going straight to video, they're just going straight to streaming. There is no video now. But yeah, it is a sort of similar situation, and we all know a lot of those sequels that did go straight to video back in the 2000s, some of them were good, but they usually weren't as good as the original. So I feel like we're going to get a lot of that again, but just, straight to streaming. Okay, Strange World is not Pixar. It is Disney Animation then. Okay. The thing is, though, I get them mixed up now. I used to not get them mixed up, but now I feel like they're making such similar product. It's really, really hard, or it's getting harder, at least for me, to tell the difference between a Disney animated film and a Pixar movie, because they kind of look and feel the same to me now. Anyone else? Cinderella 3 was great. You know what? I liked The Little Mermaid 2. That was a good one. I like Little Mermaid 2. But anyway. And for the love of God, let Toy Story die. We don't need a fifth movie. I wish they weren't making a fifth Toy Story movie. I really have a bad feeling about that film. I think that movie is not going to do what they're expecting. Alright. The Legendary Movie Critic, thank you so much for being a member. Says, I think Pixar movies should take more risks in storytelling and work with new stylized animation styles. I would love for Pixar to focus on more original movies after Elemental and less unnecessary cash grab sequels. I would too, Josh. You're speaking my language. I want more original movies, but I don't just want original movies. I want original movies with a new art style and creative themes that actually push Pixar to do things that they haven't done before. I think when they're making their next movie, I think they should really, write down a list of tropes that they have used a ton, and then, make a note to not use a single one of them. Just because I think they really need to push themselves with their storytelling. I think they're getting too comfortable with the same story beats. That's what I would say. Thank you for being a member, Josh. I think they need to seriously experiment with this animation style. I'm so over the gummy, plastic-looking characters time and time again. I think Elemental was a step in the right direction in terms of art style. I think Pixar, like Disney overall, needs fresh and perhaps younger writers, or perhaps on their team who know what the general audience is looking for with modern animated media. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I definitely think that Pixar needs a fresh perspective, whether that means they need younger people there working, or I think maybe it just means they need to listen to new people. Because everything, from what I've been hearing, it sounds like they're going to the same 5 to 10 creators over at Pixar, and they're kind of asking them to come up with a lot of the ideas. And I think that even though I like those people, maybe we should ask someone else for some ideas. I think they should definitely look for some outside, fresh perspective, just to put a spin on things. I definitely agree with that. Oh yeah, Lion King 1.5. That was a good one too. I'm glad you agree with me, Josh. Kisaki says... Oh, wait, did I skip this? Okay. I want Pixar to go back to their original formula. I feel like they're trying too much to be Disney rather than what made them special. I want more anthropomorphic, non-human made characters. I also want them to stop using the Cal art style because it makes the 3D models look too noodly/blubbery. Lastly, we just need better writers who aren't trying to be hip with the kids. Movies like Coco and Soul gave me old Pixar vibes since it focused on universal ideas like family, death, and not knowing what you want to be. Overall, I hope the new upcoming film Elio brings back the old Pixar vibes. Yeah, I know what you mean about the old Pixar vibes. That's why I liked Soul, because I thought it had the old Pixar vibes. Yeah, the as I said with the it's a DreamWorks movie, not Pixar, but with the Teenage Kraken movie, it still had the same like CalArt style look, and they just all look so noodly and plastic looking and rubbery. It's gotten to the point where I'm not just tired of that art style, but it actually like puts me off. Like I don't even like to look at it anymore. It just looks weird, especially when you look at, something like the Puss in Boots movie or Spider-Verse, and you're like, oh, this is so gorgeous. Look at this. This every frame is like, a piece of art. And then you go and you see something like Teenage Kraken, and they look like walking gummy worms. They do. They look like walking gummy worms in that movie. I think you're right about the look just not looking that great anymore. They definitely got to change the art style. The CoverGirl official says they need to experiment with their animation with the stories they tell. Definitely agree. Not going to repeat myself, but totally agree. Natanya says they could experiment with their animation, come up with original good stories, and stop making so many sequels. Well, it doesn't sound like they're going to do this last part. It sounds like they're about to do the opposite, so that's unfortunate. And then RuPaul's Drag Race superfan says they need to go back to when they used to have original stories and stop making so many sequels. I mean, from 2010 to 2019, they only made 3 original movies. The rest are sequels. Well, honestly, I don't think they will ever go back to their success in the 2000s. Too many people have lost trust. Some will come back, but some never will. So I think Pixar will probably be merged into Disney Animation in about 10 years. Oh, I think it's happening in less than 10 years. I think they're probably going to merge Disney Animation and Pixar within the next 5. Mainly because Disney is trying to like streamline, and they're trying to like already thinking of selling off their linear TV channels. They're trying to sell off a lot of their stuff just to like slim down as a company. It makes total sense to combine 2 animation studios that are essentially making the same product now. Like I said, I'm having a hard time figuring out the difference between a Disney animated movie and a Pixar movie, because they kind of look the same to me now. It makes no sense for them to be 2 separate studios. They should be combined at this point. Maybe that's controversial, but they should be combined. Maybe it'll, they say you put, 2 minds are better than one. Maybe if we combine the 2, it'll help, put all the best people together, and we can get, better movies. Possibly. Who knows? But I definitely think they're going to merge, and probably sooner than 10 years. Alright. So I think that's everyone. Did anyone post anything? I'm just going to refresh just to see if I missed anything. No, looks like I got everything. So thank you everyone for being a member, and thank you for posting. If you want to be a member, just press the join button at the bottom of the screen. Joining does help the channel. Also, you get to participate in these community posts, like the one you see here, and you'll get your post read on my live stream. So consider being a member. All right. That is the show. Oh my gosh, we went way over. We had so much to talk about today. Wow. So thank you everyone who showed up today. This was a really fun show. I really enjoyed it. I'll answer just like one question since we're already way over, and then that'll be the end of the show today. And I'll see you guys tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, that'll be it. So last question. Oh, Josh says, I don't want Pixar and Disney Animation to merge, because then they would lose animators. Yeah, it would be really sad. I would hope that they would try to keep at least most of their animators, but unfortunately, Josh, I think with AI coming, they were already going to lose animators anyway. This sounds really heartless, but just purely from a business sense, it makes all the sense in the world to combine the 2. I'm sorry, it just does. Oh, WTF News. I forgot. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to do WTF News, and then that'll be it. So, I forgot about WTF News. I did promise it to you, so I'm going to give it to you now. So, First thing, like I said, this is just fun, but Will Ferrell DJ'd at his son's frat party yesterday. I just thought this was really funny and really cool of him. So yeah, this is, like I said, this was just one piece of fun WTF news, nothing huge, but I just think it's really funny that he's DJing at his son's frat party. Like, can you imagine? That kid is probably the coolest guy at the entire party. Like, you had Will Ferrell show up and DJ at your party. Like, how cool is that? I know I almost forgot WTF news. Thank you, Prince, for reminding me. I was ready to end, and I was like, oh no, I promised. Jonathan Majors came to my school. Do you think they'll ever make an Avengers type movie, but for Pixar characters where they all come together? I'd watch it. Maybe. I don't know if that's good for, like, creativity or their brands, but I'd watch it. I know, I think this kind of makes him a cool dad, not gonna lie. Very wholesome. Alright. Next thing. This is the crazier of the WTF news. And that Netflix is set to open a real-life immersive Squid Game experience in Los Angeles. And I'm like, immersive? Did we not see the same Squid Game? I know the show was really entertaining and I liked watching it, but I did not want to live through it. I do not want to live through the Squid Game. Who wants an immersive experience? Is anyone gonna do this? Is anyone ready for an immersive Squid Game experience? This just sounds horrifying. What do they even mean by this? Who's gonna do this? Netflix really wants Squid Game to, like, still be a thing. But it's been years since the first season. When are they gonna have the second season? I thought they were doing that. I mean, they're also doing a Squid Game, like, live competition show, too. So it seems like they just took none of the messages from the actual show and just, like, ran with it. Poke Rush says, I guess people want to look cute in a tracksuit. Is that what it is? Is that the immersive experience? You get to wear a tracksuit? I don't know. This just seems like a little, like, sketchy. Like, I don't actually want to be in the Squid Game. What do you mean, immersive? Is this a horror show? Is this like a Halloween experience? I don't know. But anyway, those are the only WTF news I had for today. Two minor things, but I thought they were interesting. Thank you for reminding me, Prince. I almost forgot. But anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the next show. And I'll see you then. Bye.